Welcome to the Blue Wall.
I'm Michael Smeltzer, and I am here with 2025 Michigan running back commit Jasper Parker. Jasper, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me on. Finally, I've been tuning in, so it's good to be able to be on here myself.
Heck yeah, man. I'm looking forward to get to know you. Let's jump right in. Can you describe the recruiting process and what stood out to you about Michigan in particular?
I would say the strong history that Michigan holds, and I would say the support system behind it is what stood out most to me. I mean, it's a family and that's an understatement. I mean, but upon just being recruited by Michigan, I would get so many text messages, new followers, a lot of guys that support Michigan, a lot of alumni. So it's so strong. Everything about Michigan is so strong culturally. And just football itself, I mean, it speaks for itself. National contenders every year, just won a national chip. So, and the coaching staff is amazing. So just upon being recruited, those are a few of the things that stood out most to me.
Speaking of that coaching staff, who was the primary recruiter for you, or the guy that you're building a relationship with? Is it TA? Is it Coach Tony Alford or Sharon? I know Ron Bellamy was involved a little bit. Who is the guy that's like your go-to on the staff right now?
I would say the go-to on my staff probably would be Coach Tony Alford. But the guy that had a lot to do with my recruitment is Coach Ronald Bellamy, who played under my head coach in high school, went to my high school. He was also like a really high athlete, and he went to Michigan himself, so he kind of just told me everything I needed to know, the ins and outs of the program, what I'm getting from the program, and he gave me that boost of confidence that I needed to take Michigan as a final contender for my decision. But I say my go-to is definitely Coach TA. Me and Coach Moore also have developed a really strong relationship, so I'm pretty sure I can call him whenever I want, and vice versa. So it just feels good knowing the coaching staff believes in you and trusts you to be on a conversational basis every day.
Excellent, man. So the easy questions are out of the way. I'm going to ask you a hard one now. What part of your game do you think you need to improve the most transitioning from high school to college? I know you got one more year of high school, so you're going to be working on some things. What's that part of your game that has to improve?
I would say probably my top end. That's really it. But you can always improve on your top end. Just being able to separate yourself from it's very different transitioning from the second level of defenders to the third level of defenders. So I would say I can always improve on my top end, as well as my patience. I feel like it's always a constant battle of who can build the most leverage and be patient when challenging the defensive side of the ball from the offensive side of the ball, and just reading things better. So I feel like just studying the game, and I could definitely improve on those things just being in the lab and working. You know,
it's funny that you said that, because when I was watching your film, you remind me most of a guy by the name of Hassan Haskins. And in Michigan, the Michigan community knows Hassan Haskins well because he made so much progress when he was with the program, and so that's something that he worked on that quite a bit as well. And let's talk a little bit about Archbishop Shaw High School, where you're at currently. People in Ann Arbor were excited to see that your teammate Jacob Washington also committed, so he'll be going from the boot to the mitten, right? Louisiana to Michigan. Did you guys plan this? Were you guys talking like, okay, we're going to, let's go ahead and figure this out together, go to the same spot? Or did you, just end up in Ann Arbor separately?
I mean, we kind of always just like teased on the fact that Coach Bell, he went from Shaw to Michigan. But approaching our top three colleges, we talk every day. Michigan was in the top three colleges, but I would say they were more on my number one radar than his number one radar. So it wasn't like we were like deciding we're going to go to Michigan together. It was kind of like we were both wowed by the visit and being in Ann Arbor, just being absorbed by everything it has to offer. So I would say, like, as much as we talked about Michigan, we never knew we'd end up there together and committing a week apart. But we definitely had talked about Michigan and everything that it holds as far as football and education-wise.
Man, speaking of going up north, you guys are going to have to go shopping together and get some new drip, right? You got jackets, you got boots. You ever been up north in the wintertime?
No, sir. I don't really go, I don't really go north much. But it's definitely my dad and mom tease me about it a lot of the times. They're talking about yeah, don't freeze up there. But nah, it's gonna be an experience. It's gonna be great. I'm ready to grow.
Yeah, Michigan's a beautiful place, man. You're gonna love it up there. It gets a little cold at times, but you'll absolutely love it. I don't know if you can see this guy behind me on my wall. This is legendary running back Blake Corum, and of course at Michigan last year, he broke the all-time touchdown record in Michigan history. But more importantly than that, he set the tone from a legacy and culture perspective. So let me ask you this, Jasper. By the time you end up leaving Michigan, what do you want to leave as a legacy? Like, how do you want to impact the culture of Michigan? How do you want to be remembered?
I will always say this in almost all my interviews. I just want to be remembered as a great leader, a guy that always improved others around him. It's not necessarily about going to the league. I mean, or just scoring touchdowns and playing football, because people remember how you had their personal interactions with you overall based on your stats, I would say. So I would just say, like, growing as a leader, of course, developing to go to the next level has been my dream forever. But I want to leave Michigan with, of course, a national championship if that plays its part, and I would love to be a leader in that team. So most definitely that, as well as just making a program remember me as much as I remember it.
Speaking of that national championship, how many games of Michigan's natty run last year did you watch? Were you glued to the TV? I know you were playing football yourself. Are you watching that national championship run?
Oh yeah. I mean, Michigan, they've been broadcasted everywhere. So I mean, I kind of always been tuned into their games. But this season, yeah, I focused more towards the back end of the season when the coaching thing happened and all that stuff. So just seeing how I began to get recruited by him, just seeing how Coach Moore took the program into his hands and kept the same passion that Coach Harbaugh did. And the players stood out most with their leadership. So I tuned in for the playoff games. I tuned in for the back end of the season. I tuned in for the Ohio State game. So yeah, I've definitely been in there.
Yeah, it really is a different culture at Michigan. And then you had Jim Harbaugh transitioning on to the NFL, and of course Sharon Moore getting hired. And Sharon, I mean, that's an O-line guy right there, right? I mean, to wrap up the Penn State game a year ago, he ran the ball 32 times in a row. Man, you don't see that in college football anymore. So did that impact your decision to want to go to Michigan? Are you sitting there looking like, okay, this guy's gonna run the damn ball and get in the trenches? Did that impact your decision?
Most definitely. I mean, upon going to Michigan, you know how much the running back position holds. So I feel like you get developed at another level, and they'll definitely protect you with the guys up front. And that's what Coach Moore has made a priority when recruiting me. He's definitely said he's an offensive line guy. I mean, you could tell he's been on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, his whole life. So I mean, he develops the O-line. He made me realize how strong the O-line was just being up there. During the practice, he would just come tease me like, I mean, you can't wait to get behind those guys. So it's always been a priority on his end, and of course, it's a priority on my end. So it definitely impacted my decision.
Heck yeah. And I recently read that you'll be heading up to the barbecue. The list of names going to the barbecue at the Big House is getting bigger and bigger. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to maybe encourage some guys to join you in the Maize and Blue. So let me ask, are you staying in touch with some other recruits around the country, some other top guys, maybe some O-linemen, right? Trying to get some guys in front to block for you. Is there anybody out there that you're talking to, trying to influence?
I mean, I kind of influenced a few guys. Jacob, Phillip Wright was in the works with them. So yeah. I mean, we've kind of made it as like the players that's already committed. We talk to each other all the time, just based on guys that we feel will fit best and will fit good in the Michigan uni. So we've definitely been on O-linemen. We've been on them heavy. For me personally, I've been heavy in Phillip Wright's recruitment. So I've taken a break after that because I mean, he was on my OV and I kind of knew I was already committed, so I was just like talking to him. My dad was talking to his parents, but we definitely recruit as a whole as far as commitments, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting to learn more names and get more guys in maize and blue when I get up there for the barbecue.
Are there any guys from that national championship team that have moved on to the NFL or moved on to other things that you've had some interactions with? Have you gotten to talk at all with, you know, the Blake Corums and J.J. McCarthy's of the world or anybody else on that team?
Nah, I actually haven't. I haven't talked to a lot of those guys, but I mean, just hearing about them, it just shows you what great men they are. And actually, I talked to Dono. I talked to the Don a few times.
Yeah.
It's great just getting insight from him, just from a football perspective and a developmental perspective, just seeing his journey as a back and coming through the program. He really makes you trust the system and trust Michigan as a whole. I've also talked to guys like Colston Loveland. He's great. I mean, he's a great leader. When I was up there, he was just like kind of talking to me like I was already on the team. So it's just great hearing from those guys and being able to see the things they've accomplished.
Yeah, I got to spend some time with Donovan Edwards this last spring. Isn't he a unique individual, man? He's like a one-of-a-kind personality. Yeah. That dude is crazy, isn't he?
Yeah. Special person, with some special talent.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Jasper, I burned through most of the questions I wanted to ask you. You're an impressive young man, and I see why the Michigan coaching staff wanted you on this team. You clearly fit the culture. But I got to ask you one more question before we get off here. This is the most important question. What are you listening to get hyped or get prepared for a game, man? Hit me with some music. What are you jamming?
For a game, I mean, I like to be a savage in a game. So you gotta just pay some stuff that's just gonna expose your swagger. So I listen to right now I'm heavy on Bossman, D-Lo, NBA Youngboy, but I like to pair it up like some old Drake. A lot of stuff that's just gonna lock me in and pair it up with like being a dog, but also being poised at the same time. So I like to do it an even mix.
Yeah, well, I'm going to age myself here a little bit, but so I'm from Texas. I was born and raised in Texas, actually, and back when I was, in high school, the Louisiana guys it was all about Boozy and Webby, man. Boozy and Webby was like that's what everybody from Louisiana was jamming.
Yeah.
But man, Jasper, I've had a great time getting to know you. We'll have to catch up again after your senior year. I know you're going to do great things. Thank you so much for taking the time today. That is Jasper Parker. I am Michael Smeltzer, and that was The Blue Wall.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Blue Wall with Michael Smeltzer. For more exclusive Michigan football and basketball content, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.